A messed up world, a messed up society, and messed up ideals. It was all so ridiculous. Killing each other in the underworld for survival, for supplies. Was that how humanity always was? No. A few centuries ago, people used to live freely, under leaders who couldn't overexert their power, without having to learn to fight for entertainment's sake, each match potentially being your last. If only I had been born in a different world, a different era. I looked down at the vibroblade still implanted inside my body and sighed. I could feel my eyelids growing heavy, dying at the age of 18. Pretty pitiful. Hey, my final moments were spent regretfully condemning the position I found myself in as I escaped this cruel world and joined the endless void. Ah, looks like I messed up, I thought as I coughed weakly, blood spurting out of my mouth and spewing out uncontrollably from the wound in my gut. I sat against the cold concrete wall of the arena. The undefeated champion had finally fought his last fight. Well, almost endless. The darkness that enveloped me began to recede, replaced by a soft, warm light. My eyes fluttered open, adjusting to the brightness. I was lying in a plush bed, the sheets impossibly soft against my skin. Sunlight streamed through a large window, illuminating a room that was clean, modern, and utterly unfamiliar. There was no smell of rust and decay, only the faint scent of flowers from a vase on the nightstand. I sat up, my hand instinctively going to my gut. Nothing, no wound, no pain, not even a scar. My clothes were different too, a simple white shirt and comfortable pants. Not the tattered combat gear I'd worn my whole life. A woman with a kind face entered the room, carrying a tray. She smiled gently when she saw I was awake. "Oh, you're up." I was worried. "You've been unconscious for 3 days." She placed the tray on the bed. It held a bowl of steaming soup and a glass of water. "You must be hungry." I stared at her, my mind reeling. Was this some kind of trick? An elaborate illusion before the final blow? I scanned the room for hidden cameras, for any sign of the arena masters, but found none. The woman's concern seemed genuine. "Where am I?" I asked, my voice raspy. "You're in the city of Ethelgard. My son found you collapsed in the forest, just outside the city walls." Forest, city walls. These terms were foreign relics from the history vids they showed us before the fights. The world outside the arena was supposed to be a wasteland. The wasteland, I ventured. She looked confused. "Wasteland, my dear. The world is lush and green. There are no wastelands for thousands of miles." She placed a cool hand on my forehead. "You must have hit your head hard. Don't worry, you're safe here. Safe." The word echoed in my mind, a concept I'd never truly known. Over the next few days, the woman, Ilara, and her son, Kale, nursed me back to health. I learned that this world was peaceful. There were no arenas, no forced combat. People worked, they laughed, they lived without the constant fear of death hanging over their heads. It was everything I had ever dreamed of. But was it real? I couldn't shake the feeling that this was all a dying dream, a final fantasy my mind had concocted before the end. One evening, Kale took me to the city square. It was bustling with people, street performers juggling lights, vendors selling sweet-smelling food, children laughing as they chased each other. There were no armed guards, no tension in the air. Just life. Kale noticed my bewildered expression. "It's a lot to take in, isn't it?" he said with a grin. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I didn't know how to respond. How could I explain that I was the ghost, a visitor from a world of brutal death. That night, as I lay in bed, the memories of the arena flooded back. The roar of the crowd, the clash of steel, the coppery taste of blood. I could almost feel the phantom pain in my guts. I sat up, drenched in a cold sweat. Was I going crazy? Or had I truly been given a second chance? The next morning, I decided I had to know for sure. I found Cale in the training yard behind their house. He was practicing with a wooden sword, his movements fluid and graceful. It wasn't the desperate, killer-be-killed style I knew. It was a dance, an art form. "Teach me," I said, my voice firm. He looked surprised. "Teach you? I thought you weren't a fighter." "I'm not," I replied. "But I need to understand. I need to know if this is real." He hesitated, then tossed me a wooden sword. The weight felt familiar, yet completely different. We sparred. My old instincts kicked in every move designed to maim, to end the fight as quickly as possible. But Cale just parried, his style defensive and precise. He wasn't trying to hurt me. He was just training. After a few minutes, I dropped my sword, breathing heavily. It was real. The feel of the wood, the strain in my muscles, the earnest look in Cale's eyes. This wasn't a dream. I had somehow escaped my hellish reality and landed in a paradise. Tears welled up in my eyes, tears of relief, of confusion, of gratitude. I looked at my hands, not scarred and calloused from a lifetime of killing, but clean and whole. For the first time, I felt hope. I had a new life, a chance to be more than just a champion of a forgotten arena. I was finally free.
A tiny white spot glinted in the distance, illuminating the dark space. It seemed to grow, slowly expanding, lighting up the void in a brilliant, pure white light. I squinted, or at least I thought I did. Could I even squint? I didn't know what I was, or what form I had taken, but the dazzling light hurt my eyes. Maybe that was a sign? Maybe it meant I was alive, some kind of life form, perhaps. Just as the thought crossed my mind, my ears started echoing with a strange, eerie sound. Suddenly, I felt a powerful jerk, pulling me from the void. Color began to seep into the world around me, slowly at first, then all at once. My eyes struggled to adjust to the intense brightness, such a stark contrast to the endless black hole I had just been floating in. "Congratulations, it's a healthy baby boy," a female voice exclaimed from somewhere just outside my line of sight. I looked around, completely dumbfounded. A baby boy. Was she talking about me? I tried to communicate, to ask what was happening, but words wouldn't escape my mouth. No matter how hard I tried, all that came out were garbled noises. It seemed the only thing I could do was analyze my surroundings. My gaze settled on the person holding me. Right in front of me was a stunning woman. She had silky, long brown hair that cascaded over her shoulders, and her stunning green eyes sparkled like emeralds. She radiated a warmth I had never felt before, a gentle, comforting presence that just drew you in. Her naturally colored lips shimmered in the light of the evening sun, as luminescent rays spread across the small wooden room. The light made her look like an angel. I could almost see the halo floating just above her head. Without thinking, I reached out to her with my small hand, wanting to touch this divine being. As my hand moved forward, another hand, larger and warmer, slowly enveloped mine. Looking up, I saw a man standing beside her. He had short, spiky black hair and piercing blue eyes that held a mix of joy and relief. A warm, gentle smile played on his lips. His features were rugged yet handsome, and he carried a calming, protective aura. "He's perfect," he whispered, his voice deep and full of emotion. He leaned down and kissed the woman on her forehead before turning his attention back to me. "Welcome to the world, little guy. We're your parents." Parents? The word felt foreign, yet it resonated deep within me. This woman, my mother, and this man, my father. They looked at me with so much love, it was overwhelming. I felt a sense of belonging, a feeling of being wanted that I had never experienced. My new mother rocked me gently in her arms, humming a soft, sweet lullaby. The melody was simple, but it was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. It washed over me, calming the confusion and fear that had been swirling inside. For the first time, I felt safe. I felt at peace. I nestled closer to her, soaking in her warmth, letting the rhythmic rocking and her gentle humming lull me into a state of pure contentment. The room, though small and simple, felt like a sanctuary. It was filled with a love so palpable you could almost touch it. The wooden walls seemed to glow, and the soft blankets I was wrapped in felt like a cloud. My father placed a hand on my head, his touch incredibly gentle. "What should we name him, Ilara?" he asked, his voice filled with tenderness. My mother, Ilara, looked down at me, her green eyes filled with an unreadable emotion.
Rael,
she said softly, the name flowing from her lips like a melody. His name will be Rael. Rael, that was my name now. It felt right. As they spoke, I looked from one loving face to the other. I may not have known how I got here or what I was before, but in this moment, none of that mattered. I had a family. I had a name. I was Rael. Over the next few days, I slowly grew accustomed to my new life. My world was small, consisting mainly of this cozy wooden room, the comforting presence of my parents, and the cycle of sleeping, eating, and observing. I was completely dependent on them, a strange and humbling experience. I learned the sounds of their footsteps, the cadence of their voices, and the feel of their touch. My mother's hands were soft and delicate, while my father's were strong and calloused, yet both held me with the same unwavering gentleness. They would talk to me for hours, telling me about the world outside our little home. They described the towering trees of the forest that surrounded our cabin, the sparkling river that flowed nearby, and the village that lay a short distance away. My father, whose name I learned was Kale, was a woodsman. He would leave early in the morning with his axe and return in the evening, smelling of pine and fresh earth. My mother, Ilara, was a healer. She tended to a small garden just outside, growing herbs and flowers with magical properties. Her knowledge of plants was vast, and she would often bring them inside, filling the room with fragrant aromas. One afternoon, Ilara was brewing a potion, grinding herbs with a mortar and pestle. The air was thick with the scent of lavender and chamomile. I watched, fascinated, as she chanted softly, her words weaving a subtle magic that made the mixture glow with a faint silvery light. Kyle came in, carrying a basket of wild berries. "For my two favorite people," he said with a grin, placing a juicy berry on Ilara's lips before offering one to me. I couldn't eat it, of course, but the gesture was filled with so much affection that my heart swelled. They were so in love, and I was the center of their world. This life was a stark contrast to the empty void I came from. There was color, there was warmth, there was love. As weeks turned into months, I began to understand more of their language. My baby brain was like a sponge, soaking up every word, every inflection. I learned that they lived a simple life, away from the hustle and bustle of larger towns. They valued nature, family, and the quiet magic that permeated the world around them. They were content, and their contentment was infectious. I found myself letting go of the lingering questions about my past existence. What did it matter who I was before? This was my reality now, and it was a beautiful one. One evening, as the sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Ilara took me outside for the first time. The air was crisp and cool. She held me close as we stood on the small porch, looking out at the vast expanse of the forest. The trees stood like silent giants, their leaves rustling in the gentle breeze. The sound was like a whisper, a secret shared between the earth and the sky. Fireflies began to appear, their tiny lights blinking on and off, creating a mesmerizing dance in the twilight. My father joined us, wrapping his arms around my mother and me, creating a warm cocoon of love and safety. "Look, Rael," he said, his voice a low rumble. "This is your home." And in that moment, looking out at the enchanted forest under the twilight sky, held securely in the arms of the two people who loved me more than anything, I knew he was right. I didn't know what destiny had in store for me, or what challenges I would face in this new world. But for now, I was home. The void was a distant memory, a forgotten dream. This was my life, and I was ready to live it. I closed my eyes, not in sleep, but in pure, unadulterated happiness, the gentle sounds of the forest, and the steady beat of my mother's heart, being the only lullaby I needed. This was just the beginning of my story, the first chapter in the life of Rael.